Welcome back to Sip Happens. Today we are debunking wine myths. So myth number one, everybody thinks that red wine should be served at room temperature, but today, thanks to climate change, our rooms are too warm. So ideally, red wines should be served anywhere between 13 to 18 degrees. And if you have a nice fancy machine like we do, these Enomatics, you can get the perfect pour at the perfect temperature every single time. So myth number two, that white wine should be served freezing cold. But in fact, if it's too cold, then it masks the nice, beautiful, tropical, fruity, aromatic nuances and flavors. So you actually want it between 7 to 13, depending on if it's a fresh, fruity, tropical New World wine, or if it's a slightly aged, oaky, Old World Chardonnay. Myth number three, expensive wines is always better. So that's a personal preference. It depends on your palate. It depends on your style, what you're like, what you're sensitive to, who you're with, where you're going. So for example, Pouilly-Fuissé typically is the more expensive one from the same vineyard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that expensive means good and quality every time. You can also have an everyday drinking wine like this beautiful, fresh, tropical Sauvignon Blanc, and it's not nearly as expensive as the Pouilly-Fuissé, but it's also good. So expensive doesn't always mean good. So the next myth is that sweet wines are low quality. That is not true. Some of the world's best wines are actually sweet wines, like this port over here. We also have Sauterne. We also have Tokai. So sweet wine, yes, some of it can be lower quality or lifestyle range, like we like to call it, but it does not mean that sweet wine is low quality. Like I said, historically, some of the best wines and some of the wine's earliest drinking wines are sweet in nature. So the next myth, champagne gives you headaches. Lies. It's usually because you're not drinking enough water, you're not hydrating. It could be the acidity, but it is definitely not the bubbles that is giving you headaches. So the next time you're ready to pop your cork, make sure you have a tall glass of water nearby and you hydrate so that you can balance the effects. We've all heard that red wine should go with red meat, white wine should go with white meat, but those are not hard and fast rules. It is what your preference is. Red wine can go with a beautiful piece of salmon, so a nice Pinot Noir, and white wine can go with a beautiful grilled steak and a nice creamy blue cheese sauce. So play around and find the perfect pairing for you. So there is a myth that most wines are supposed to be aged. That's false. Actually, a very small percentage is meant to be aged. Something like this with a heavy bottle, a deep cork, a deep punt, this is supposed to be cellared away for 10, 15, even 20 years. Contrary to what people think, these wines with the screw cap are actually meant to be drunk now and in their current vintage years. They're supposed to be enjoyed. So don't waste your time trying to put this one away. Enjoy it now. So everybody thinks that rosé is a mix of white and red wine like this. To make that, that's wrong. In fact, it's actually white wine that is in contact with red wine grape skins that is left to macerate over a certain period of time, depending on how light or how dark you want the blushing pink or the deep red. And that is how you get rosé. So it is not literally mixing. It is white juice in contact with red skin and left over time to macerate as it leaches its color to give you a beautiful rosé wine. So most commonly people think that sulfates cause red wine headaches, as it's lovingly called. In fact, that's not true. You could have a sensitivity, you could have an antihistamine, you could have an allergy, or certain wines have not softened in the wine. It usually needs decanting and you need to hydrate. So as long as you're hydrating and you're decanting and you're aerating the wine, you should be good to go.